Welcome, dear viewers, to a new episode of Dialogue Horizon. This episode will be fully dedicated to the economic development in the country, starting from the approval of the budget for 2021 and the visits of the important visits of the Minister or Secretary of Treasury of America, and the director of the EXIM, Export and Import Bank of America. But we'll start by, after asking my friends here, I'm happy, actually glad to host with me in this episode, because the episode is fully dedicated to almost financial and economic aspects. So we decided that we host two gentlemen in this area where they are qualified and they have the experience, starting by Professor Makki Madan Shibli. He's a professor in economics. He's a scholar. He contributed a lot until he got the professorship. This after many papers in this area. So we consider him as a scholar in the economics and the economy, and he presented papers in different forums. The last was the Economic Congress here in Khartoum last year. He is now the director of Mount Beheri Center. Welcome, Professor Makki, for being with us. And also, we have our friend, and he's also, his profession is economics, pure economics and financial management, and he has contributions in many fields. He is Dr. Sammani Hanoun. He is known to most of the viewers. He also known as an activist in the revolution, and he also contributed a lot, and we expect him and Professor Makki to give the viewers an insight in a simple terms, so that they can understand exactly the complexity. Actually, economics is a very complex science, and it's very difficult to deal to apply economics or economic theories in a country like Sudan with its all diversity in all aspects, all directions. We have diversity. So thank you for being with us, Professor Makki Madan Shibli and Dr. Sammani Hanoun. The first question will be actually to both of you. Then we go in detail in the economic aspects. The first question is your personal evaluation to the past incumbency of Prime Minister Hamdouk and his crew or his cabinet, their performance in the last 15 months since they were inaugurated in last year in October or last day, September. So almost 15 months. What is your evaluation regarding with regards to the slogans of the revolution? The slogans, as we all know, is freedom, peace, and equality. So can you give your evaluation?
Thank you very much indeed, Engineer Umar Abu Haraz, for hosting me in this highly viewed program. It is a very difficult question to start with, that one to evaluate the performance in a few minutes of, say, a very challenging and very difficult transition. My initial reaction to the question is that I would like first to let us distinguish between leadership and management in the past period. As for the management of the challenges which met the transitional period, I believe there were a lot of successes which have been, say, achieved, namely in the front of peace. By the signature of the agreement in October, in the 2nd of October last year, and the subsequent say actions to sustain this peace. I think it is progressing quite well, although there are still some delays in the formation of the different say institutions or government or institutions to fulfill the rest of the objectives. I believe the leadership qualities are because of maybe because of the huge or the mounting difficulties of the challenges. I didn't observe leadership qualities of the sense that are required in this particular period. Maybe because of the challenges, people did not find time to mobilize the will of the people and to benefit from the inertia, which was prevalent and in evidence during the sitting. The sitting actually was very educational for the revolution, and a lot of deeds, a lot of functions, a lot of qualities were performed by the Sudanese people during that period, which if met by appropriate leadership, that could have been prolonged or extended, and people would have contributed more and more to the achievement of the objectives of the revolution. However, in a nutshell, I would say that great progress have been achieved, although there is a lot to be expected, and hopefully that now the transitional period is being extended up to the year 2024 by the signature of the agreement. We do hope that the leadership qualities from whoever is going to take office in all segments of the authority, of the transitional authority, would really reflect what is anticipated and what is expected, so that we can face the international community and reflect our true qualities and our true abilities to perform and to lead the transitional period to success.
Thank you very much. So that they can help us. But what you are saying now, just now, that before we get to expect to receive something material, according to this visit and this expected help, we have to do some work. That's exactly what you are saying.
Indeed.
Okay,
Yeah.
Dr. Samani.
Thank you, Engineer Abu Haras, for this special movement with Professor Shibli, who is an ex-professor at University of Khartoum. When I was doing my BSc there, I'm very happy to join you, Professor, this special episodes. Once again, I repeat my sincere gratulation to all Sudanese people everywhere on National Day. And I hope that next year, 2021, will be year of peace and year of health and year of prosperity for all Sudanese people everywhere. Back to your questions about the environment of the transitional period, just let me to
Your
comment.
evaluation, actually.
Yeah, my evaluation to the period based on the three pillars of the revolution: the freedom, the peace, and social justice. Let us start with the freedom. To what extent the transitional period realize and achieve the economic freedom? I don't, still the transitional government, although it passed about 16 months since declaration and up to now, it is still far away from the economic freedom. By economic freedom, the government should implement the free economy and also give more freedom to the business people in order to do the business in the economy. This slogan especially doesn't achieve during this period, and still people are bargaining whether we'll take the social direction or go to the economic. So the government should decide according to the slogan, according to the pillars of the December Revolution, that the nation, Sudanese nation, already decided to take the freedom, economic freedom, and to go on the liberal economy. And this is the choice of the masses of people who share the demonstration during the uprising. Number two, the peace. Also, still about only 70% of the peace realized in the transitional period. Still Abdul Wahid and Al-Hilu outside the peace process. I hope that they will join very shortly. and will complete the peace in the whole country. Now, the breakthrough of the events in the East Sudan also can magnify the problem again. And we need also to take a step further to achieve the comprehensive peace in the whole country. In the social justice, still there is a gap because still the members of NCB, National Congress parties, and the overthrow regime of Al-Inqas still are free, not sentenced before the justice. So the justice is still far away, and even the economic what we call even development among the different regions is still far slogans for the peoples. Still, I think there is a gap to realize, and the transitional government should work very hard in order to achieve the basic slogans of December Revolution. That is to say, to realize the freedom, the peace, and the social justice among Sudanese people. I hope that in the next remaining period of the transitional government can achieve part of these aspirations of Sudanese people and realize the remaining portions of these three pillars or slogans of the December Revolution.
Okay, so both of you are saying that the past period, the government or the governance actually, which including the military, the civilians, they did not do enough. But still, what remains is more and maybe painstaking, because it might involve, when you apply the freedom, the free market fully, you might stumble on the issue of subsidies and floating the national currency. This will come later to this issue when we arrive at it. Okay, Professor Makki Shibli, we go now to the heart of the episode, which is the important visit paid last week by the important VIP actually in the American administration, the outgoing actual administration, but he's a very important person. He is the secretary, or as they call it, Minister of Treasury in the United States, Stephen Mnuchin. This visit, it seems to me that it is completion of a package which started by the visit or the meeting of Burhan with Netanyahu in Entebbe. So that the full package now, this visit may be the completion of the package, because it started by lifting Sudan's name in the list of states sponsoring terrorism, and the pledge of American administration to help Sudan, to assist Sudan in the economy problems, especially the external debts and the relation with the IMF and the World Bank. You can tell us more about this. This is a very important visit, but it was also, it was a wonderful coincidence. I thought it's a calculated coincidence. The visit or the arrival of the minister, the Treasury Minister of America, coincided with the presence or the same time of the director of the Export-Import Bank of America, which is also a very important institution. Can you tell us and tell the viewers what is the significance and importance of the visits of these two persons?
Thank you very much indeed for actually putting the question in that global context.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, this visit should not be isolated or to be considered as a visit of a Treasury Secretary of the United States to a developing country. To my mind, that it should be, say, handled within the context of the background of, say, which dates back to the success of the revolution and the reaction of the international community to that revolution and their pledges since then, even while people were in the sitting. There were pledges continuous so that they will come to, at one time, to support this revolution to reach its objectives. It also should not be read in isolation, as you rightly suggested, from the visit or the meeting which was took place between Chairman Burhan and the Prime Minister Netanyahu in Uganda a couple of years ago. And it all should not be taken in isolation. As a matter of fact, I would like to add that it doesn't happen very often that two senior secretaries from the United States visit a developing country.
Yeah.
By the fact that it's only a few months ago, we received here the foreign state secretary,
Yeah. Pompeo.
Pompeo. And just a couple of months later, we are now receiving the Treasury Secretary.
Yeah.
And who knows who's going to come next. So it is part of a context. So in that regard, I would also like to compare the results of this visit with the so-called Partners of Sudan conference, which was hosted by Germany back in June 2020. At that time, all the pledges for 40 countries, 40 donor countries, and 15 donor institutions only amounted to 1.8 billion US dollars. And everybody was really discouraged and disappointed by what has been raised at that time. But now, this visit has got a multiplicity of consequences. The first one is that the United States is now covering the arrears of Sudan with the World Bank, which will open up the way for annual support from the World Bank through IDA, which is very soft financing, to come tops up to 1.4 billion. And as you are aware, the World Bank and the IMF are the gateway to all the donors in the world, including the bilaterals in the, say, the advanced countries, and as well as the international financing institutions, like, say, the African Development Bank, like, say, all the Arab financing institutions. All this, I think, would now have the way paved to jump in to support Sudan. As for the chairperson or chair lady of the Export-Import Bank, who also visited Sudan in the last few days, they signed a letter of a memorandum of understanding that they will support by 1 billion US dollars, and they stated how this money could be spent. So it is not, say, as people were expecting, that they wanted with a push button that we receive tens of billions of dollars as other countries do. But this is a start. And this very important is that it directs us to what we need to do in order to make this, say, attitude from the international community gains momentum as we proceed.
Okay.
By doing the necessary housekeeping.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
That's very important. That's very good. And okay, Dr. Samani, also I think if you want to add something to.
Yes, I want just to go in the same line with the professor, that I think Sudan now is taking right track, going back to the international community. And last few months, with a very historical visit from senior official at the U.S. administration, Pompeo and Stephen and the manager of the Exim banks and alike, are few examples of the top and senior officials in the U.S. who visited Sudan during the last few months. I think this is a very good indicator. Now our country is moving to have a direct link with the international community, and especially the world financing institution like IMF and World Bank, who will pave the way for other regional banks and other financing institutions in the world. So Sudan, by receiving the Stephen Monish and the manager of Exim banks, I think a step forward towards very important persons in the finance and economics as well. Stephen, who is a general or secretary of the Treasury of the U.S., affect the exchange rate in the world, and especially to the prices of dollar. So he will contribute by paving the way for influx of investment through Exim Bank and other similar institutions to at least to reduce or increased supply of dollars in the economy, and that finally would result in depreciating the prices of dollars in Sudanese market. I think the visit of Stephen Monish is a very important step forward the debt relief in Sudan. And I think this is a most declared objective for this special visit, that the main target to relieve the debts and also give chance to Sudan to receive loans in order to finance the development projects in the economy, and also to pursue expansion and growth in the different activities in the economy. So these are very important economic visits to the Sudan, and will pave the way for very fruitful future or economic future in the short run. And I think that they also will contribute to the debt relieving in Sudan, and that represent a practical obstacle for the development in Sudan. So receiving these two great leaders from the U.S. administration, I think will pave the way for fruitful economic relation in the future, and will also pave the way for the development in Sudan. And now I think we start the new era of receiving financial assistance from outside the country, and directly, without brokers, without mediators, the transfers and deals settled directly between Sudan and the U.S. I think this is a qualitative development and a new paradigm for Sudanese people. In the past, we used to go through ring road, to go either through mediators and brokers. Now we have a direct relations with the U.S., and I hope that Sudan will benefit from these opportunities by making internal structural change in the economy, in politics, and Sudanese people should unite, should work together in order to get advantage of these huge opportunities awaiting them.
Okay, that's a very good, very nice. Okay, Professor Makki Shibli. Prime Minister Dr. Hamdouk, he commended these visits and commended that this will definitely have a very positive effect on the economy of the country, as Dr. Shamani said. And it was, his work was bolstered actually by Pompeo himself from America. He sent messages, direct messages, clear messages that this Sudan will benefit from this new relation. Do you think that the relation, our relation with America as an international big hub in the world, this America, and economy is big. Of course, there are some people who don't like to have good relation with America, because when you talk about America, it involves Israel, to have some annexation and Israel and America. But do you think that from the economic vision, that is it something good to have good relation with the American administration, whether it is Republican or Democratic? Actually, the American administrations, whether Republican or Democratic, in some issues they have the same language, especially the external affairs. The president has no big role in this. So do you think it is better that we keep this good relation, bearing in mind that after 12 days, a new president will take power in America, which is Joe Biden? He's a Democrat. And so what are we what do we expect from this change of the presidency, and what do we expect from the visits? Why those two persons and Pompeo at the last moment, the last few days, they are talking about the good relation with Sudan, which means that it will continue. Just give us an elaboration, your own feeling of this relation with America.
Yes. You see, to me, the mere fact that Sudan is having this, position in the foreign policies of the United States. By the way, here I'm a believer that such kind of, policies, as I said in another occasion, that we are now part of Middle East politics, and Sudan is considered as an integral and important, component of U.S. policies in the Middle East. Not only because its geographical location or because of its vast amount of, natural and human resources, but for the potential it has in many aspects of influence in the future of the area. I believe that we are in a very good position to establish a very good case for a win-win situation with the United States and with the rest of the world. If the world is coming to us, it means that we have got something attractive which made the West and the world comes towards us. If we meet this with ideological positioning and start to be very hostile or be very, say, hesitant or be apprehensive towards this move, then we'll miss the point and we'll miss the chance, as we used to do since
in the past.
I was a young man demonstrating in the streets against the World Bank and against the United States. And what followed is that this is where we are at the moment, and this is where other countries who realized this situation decades ago, look at where they are at the moment. So we are now in an inflection point, really, concerning our future. I am a believer that I would like to suggest to the young ladies and men who contributed effectively to the revolution, I would like them to refrain from ideological positioning. I would like them to be pragmatic in their approach. I would like them to be motivated by what is good for Sudan, irrespective from where it's coming. Coming from the West, coming from the East, from wherever, from manna, from heaven, wherever, as long as it's good for the Sudan, let us go ahead with it. I believe the relationship now with Sudan is really opening the world to us, especially in the economic field. And I hope that we would do our level best to put our house in order, namely to say that the skirmishes and the conflicts which have marred or say influenced the previous period of the transitional government, I think people need to think thoroughly as to how fruitful these conflicts are. We need to sit together, military, civilians, political incubator, government, say national, resistance committees, FFC, Sudan Revolution Infra, Sudan Revolution Infra. All of them should sit down together so as to find a strategy which can lead them to the best way to benefit and to utilize this positive situation which is emerging at this historical point.
Well, that's very good, very good advice, and very good, sincere. I think it's something very sincere to your call, yes, because Dr. Samani will also will elaborate on this, because without putting our house in order and without laying all differences aside, putting this aside, and just rise to the expectations of the world. Now the world is opening the door for us. He will not push us to go through the door. The only way you go through the door is through our coherence and exactly what you said. I think, Dr. Samani, this is very important to add.
Definitely, I will take the same line, and I just want to emphasize the importance of to say bye-bye old ideologies. You know, Sudan suffer from very fanatic ideologies and extremist ideologies for very long history. And if we flash back the history of development in Sudan, we can easily discover to what extent the fanatic and extreme ideology contributed to the deteriorated positions of the economy today. People, longly or emotionally, was attached to these ideologies for a very long time. And even today, the clashes between the Ministry of Education and other opponents are a physical product for ideologies. Our advice is to the youth, the leader of revolution, to all stakeholders of December revolution, you have to be pragmatic. Please reduce reliance on ideologies and don't be dogmatic, don't be fanatic, don't be extremist. Let us be moderate. Let us work together to build our country. Let us unite. Let us all together share the honor of building the new Sudan. I think this is a common slogan for all stakeholders for December revolution. The clashes among these components of the revolution will sacrifice huge opportunities awaiting Sudan. We are passing through very sensitive time. We need to be united. We need to work together. We need to avoid all clashes like what is happening during the last week between the curriculum department and the Ministry of Education. And so we have to stop such clashes. We need to develop new manifesto for our country in order to host this huge opportunity by the European Union, by the US. Let us build the new Sudan on new basis of the December Revolution, freedom, peace, and the social justice. So I think, as mentioned by Professor, that people, they need to unite, need also to reduce reliance on ideology. In a forum just 1 month back held by the human rights, I joined that forum, we talk about to what extent the ideologies harm the development in Sudan, whether leftist or rightist. The extremism, especially in Sudan, destroy the futures of Sudanese people. We have to be more flexible, more moderate. We have to accept each other. We have to work together in order to build our country. Otherwise, we are going to destroy our country. If everyone stands a very fanatic, in a very extreme position, the people will not come to the point of consensus or a point of agreement in order to build the country. So it is very important to now to give relax the ideology and give more freedom to the people to think, and let us be more pragmatic. Let us provide service to our nations in education, health, water, electricity. Let us build the road. Let us build the street. Let us give health to our ill people everywhere in hospitals. Let us be more pragmatics in order to save our community, because we spend more time on ideological conflict. And you see, ideology is the source of the violence in our country. Since Mahdi's state and up to date, the ideology represent actually the most damaging factors for the futures of Sudan. So we need to relax this assumption.
That's very good. I think both of you, you share the same idea of that we are calling for. Everybody, and I second you, I also add to the viewers and to the youth our advice that we have to forget only the slogan is the interest of Sudan. Whatever, as Professor said, good to Sudan, you have to accept it. You don't have to go back to see the roots of where is it coming. So this is the sincere advice that without this, we will lose a golden chance. We will lose it without this. If we are not prepared, if we don't prepare our house orderly, if we forget these ideologies, if we concentrate on the interest of Sudan, people of Sudan, the poor people and the displaced people and the people in different parts of Sudan are really suffering. They are in agony. Now the agony and suffering is coming to Khartoum itself. So we have to be equal to the challenges ahead of us. Professor, also one of the important things which we want to know something about it is the IDA, the International Development Agency, which is an American. They are prepared to help also to give, but we are supposed to qualify ourselves first by either suggesting, by preparing studies, what areas are attractive to the IDA or to any investor, which we can offer and present it in an economic acceptable form. What are the schemes which can be attractive to this agency or any international financial institution?
Yes. Yes, I would like to start here by what was correctly mentioned by Dr. Samani concerning the consequences, one of the main consequences or positive consequences of the visit of the Treasury Secretary to Sudan was that it paves the way for relieving or releasing or settling the arrears of Sudan with the World Bank. This in itself will open up the way for benefiting from HIPC initiative, which is a heavily indebted poor countries initiative. This initiative has got two aspects. One of them is the decision point, and the other is a completion point. The decision point, we have already gone a long distance in achieving, which is implementing the staff or the IMF staff monitored program, which is a very, very painful program. And as you maybe you have realized, everybody in Sudan now is feeling the pain of this program. However, the mitigating factors of this pain, we should not stop on the way of reaching them by blocking our way. It is now a fact that the government is committed to the SMP, the Structural Staff Monitors Program. It is signed. It is now a national obligation for everybody, including the opposition. So in order to benefit from this, we need to reach the decision point of receiving the benefits from HIPIC initiative. After that, the staff monitored program is completed, maybe for 1 year or so, then we would be eligible to IDA, IDA assistance. The good thing about IDA assistance is that it is very concessionary loans. It doesn't require a lot of interest. It has got very long grace period and completion periods. So in that sense, it does not add much to our debt burden.
Very good.
The other thing is that the nature of the activities which are financed by AIDA are those which are really required for sustaining peace. Small-scale projects, small-scale, infrastructure projects, small-scale, educational projects, small-scale, health projects. All these will have, resources or finances for. Okay. The most important thing is, in order to benefit from these, resources which are coming, is that we need to put in order an apparatus which is capable of managing these resources, which is capable of, phasing them throughout the transitional period. I don't like people to think beyond the transitional period.
Okay.
I really would be, I would not be happy if people try to benefit from these resources in order to restructure the Jazeera scheme or to restructure the Sudan railways or Sudan, fleet, etc. These projects are of large layers and they require heavy investments which are not the requirements of the transitional period. I think what the focus of this government should be is to go for what is achievable during the transitional period, and as you suggested earlier, where we can pick the low-hanging fruits.
Yeah.
And that is very important as a strategy for receiving or for utilizing the aid which is coming from IDA or from whichever, concessionary resources during the transitional period.
That's very good, yes. I like this, you mentioned this low-hanging fruit. This is very good. Because sometimes people, they just overlook the low-hanging and try to
reach the
high
and they don't have a escalator, they don't have a lift, they don't have anything. So they will fall down on their knees.
But whereas they have the low...
They're reachable, within reach.
Yeah, that's very good. This is also, I will pick this chance to reiterate what you said, is that everything should be, the transitional government, the interim government, the 4 years, they should work on the basis of 4 years. You don't have to think of beyond 4 years. Don't get involved in a project which will surpass the transitional period. There are a lot of projects. Now I am very happy that the idea, as you said, they go for small industries, they go for enhancing peace. Any country like Sudan, now we have a lot of areas where we need this small scale scale. This is something very smart and very good, and this is one of the low-hanging, very low.
Fruits.
Highly accessible. Yes.
Very well. Okay, Dr. Man, I think the subject is the same.
I think one very important fruit that can be hunted from this very low tree, that the IDA can contribute also to sustainable development and eradicate poverty in Sudan through financing small and medium projects in the economy, extended loan with a very minimum rate of return, and giving more grace period in this loan. So all this will contribute to finance small projects in the economy and eradicate poverty among wide range of Sudanese people. So the central questions, what do we benefit from relations with the US? I think there are tremendous benefit can be hunted, especially in stock market. I expected that the financial market should join the meeting of the Treasury Secretary of the U.S. because he is much concerned about setup of stock market, and he can contribute also to the foreign exchange market in the economy, can contribute also to the securities market and the Morix market and the commodities market, like what happened in Chicago Board of Trade. We can create some agreement in order to establish a stock market in the economy, because this is exceptional visit to Sudan. We can hunt so many low-hanging fruits. One of these, we can set up the financial markets in the economy. But unfortunately, I didn't hear any agreement about the stock market, about financial market. So they have to sign agreement with Chicago Board of Trade, especially for set up the cereal markets and cash crop markets in Sudan. So I think we can hunt wide range of benefit, and especially the IDA has a very long history with the development in Sudan. During the Green Revolution, 1960, the IDA contributed substantially to agricultural development. The Savannah, Western Savannah Development Corporations, the White Niles projects, it was contributed to the development of these projects in Sudan. So I think by all means, the new relations with the US will benefit the national economy, will accelerate the economic development, will accelerate the economic growth, and also lower the prices of dollars, because of increasing supply of dollars in markets through Exim Bank and other Citibank and other bank will contribute to increase supply of dollars in Sudanese market. And finally, the prices of dollar will drop in the market. The inflation rate also will be under control. As far the prices of dollar drop in market, the inflation will be at least one character, not increasing more than 10% in the economy. We expect that employment for the youth, because of new investment, that would result in creating job for the job seekers. And you know, one of the slogan of December Revolution, the unemployment. And while I am in the sit-in in front of the head office of the headquarters of the military, many use riots signs that we are unemployed youth. This is why we joined the December Revolution. So I think the relations with the bilateral relation with the US result in creating more jobs in the economy for job seekers, for job hunters in the economy, and that also will increase the investment as a main component of GDP in the economy. Finally, I think the relation will result in the development. This is the final conclusion, economic development of Sudan.
Economic development of Sudan. That's very good, very good. Professor Makki, Dr. Saman, he touched something very important about the waiving or the payment of the America to the 1 billion to the World Bank, which is compared to the 60 billion debt, but it has some good effects when they pay. This means maybe 30 to 20 billion worth of grants can be expected. I have two questions. This Dr. Asman said it will have a positive effect on the currency value. The other thing which is important, what are the conditions, the recipe of the banks, the international institutions, and their impact, the social impact on the people? As we all know about the recipe, the prerequisites of the World Bank and the IMF, they have, as they know, they have a known recipe, headed by two important things, which will hard hit and very harmful and painstaking to the people at this stage. First is floating the rate, the dollar value, the natural currency value actually, plus eliminating completely subsidies, no subsidies. So this is something a little bit complex to the politicians. Politicians, they want to attract people. They want more people. People, they will not come under hardship. And
Yes. Yes.
how can we go about it?
Yes. Actually, to be fair with the transitional authorities, this is their dilemma, actually.
This is the dilemma.
Yeah, they are now implementing a program which, if implemented correctly or appropriately, leading to making full benefit of its consequences, it will be, say, its fruits will be collected or picked by, say, hopefully the democratically elected government by after almost 4 years. But nonetheless, I think they do have the credit for, say, making the prerequisites for reaching this conclusion. And I think this in itself is a great achievement which have not been done since independence. 65 years, I don't think we have one government paved the way for a real or a genuine takeoff after 4 years. Conditionality is always there, you know, because, and by the way, I think we went a lot of distance in these conditionalities, or in meeting the conditionalities of the SMP, of the structure of the staff management program, since actually the 2020 budget. And now the 2021 budget is going along the same lines. However, the promising aspects of the 2021 budget is that it is now in a better position to convince the critics that the world is coming now to support. Now the people, despite the hardship, despite the difficulty, despite the pain, by the way, this pain is indiscriminate. I'm sure everybody among us here is feeling it. Let alone those who are a little bit less fortunate, that they are in a poorer strata, they will feel it more and more. But hopefully that the 2021 budget has made reasonably adequate allocations to mitigate the adverse impact of this, say, hardship. I hope they will succeed in that, and I hope they will be very serious about it, and they will really put the house in order so that we have the managerial and the institution skills which could implement this mitigation, because it is very important for the poor segment of the population, and it is very important for the sustenance of peace, which is quite important that we have a budget which is pro-poor, in the sense that despite the lifting of the subsidies, adequate resources are allocated for mitigation of the consequences of this in the poorer segments of the population. So I think the challenge of the government is to the success in, say, making these mitigating factors felt by the rank and files, by the poor people, so that we can reach the so-called completion point for the HIPIC initiative, and would be in a position to have a debt relief for the $60 billion, $63 billion, which is very heavy on the back of every Sudanese. So if this is released, or this is, say, mitigated, then the transitional period, when it is completed into 2024, Sudan would be relieved of a majority of its debt, would be in a position to restructure, or to have restructured actually the economy by leaving all the by making all the imbalances as history, and all the pains which people suffered and are suffering, and they will continue to suffer up to 2024. But you know, there is down the line, one can see a light if people are very serious about it, and if the leadership are very sensitive towards the requirements of the rest of the transitional period.
That's very good. As if you are telling the people that what's government about the budget for 2020 is something positive, something in your evaluation as an professor in economy, is something good, and the deficit is less than the other previous budgets, and expectations are high among what is coming.
Yes.
So how you are advising people to be patient, a little bit, wait a little bit, or what are you saying
Yes.
to the people that something good will come? Because
Yes.
you said there are light in the end of the tunnel, but
Yes, I can see a light on the, at the end of the tunnel. Yes, if you let me just elaborate on this point.
yes,
This
it's
is
very
a,
important.
this is a very important point. Is that the, the budget in its allocations, from what we saw from the figures, and now I have not had the chance to have a look at the detailed figures, but from what I saw, that education now, the allocations for education is higher than the allocation for defense.
For the first time.
For the first time ever, since I was a kid. This is the first time. So this, in every respect, this is a positive sign. For those who are, say, suggesting that the government should put its hands on the military and the, say, security,
Economic,
companies or institutions, this is an achievement of this objective in disguise.
Yeah,
Because if you reduce the allocation to the security and defense, it means that you are burdening this segment to finance its own self.
Yes,
from the companies and from the companies of the institutions and of the
This is
security.
very,
And
very good, yes.
yeah, so in that sense, even those who are very critical about this particular point, let us see in this budget a step towards reaching this. This objective, of course, is very valid. That the government, the Minister of Finance, should put its hands on all the resources available in the country, including the military and the security companies. However, let us be frank about it. There are some difficulties or some challenges in reaching this objective in a very short period. So if people could reach this objective in a staggered way, then that is a step forward. That's a positive aspect of the budget. And I think we need to go forward so as to build on this and try to achieve more and more in the coming two budgets for during the transitional period.
So I agree with you. It's something by reducing the defense budget allocation, the earmark for the. It means it's in disguise. Yes.
Practically,
They are asking the military
to take care of its own self,
which is good. Anyhow, in a way, it is back to the country.
Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Sammani, we have about this video. It's a very important issue. People they ask about why the Minister of Treasury, Secretary of America, although the visit is very short, one day visit, and it involves a lot of things, but he was adamant and insisting on meeting the irrigation minister, Professor Yasser Abbas, and he met him, and they talked about the resources of water, but some emphasis were on the Renaissance Dam of Ethiopia. What is your perspective? Can you give us your perspective of this request of this man, important VIP of American, to see the Minister of Irrigation, bearing in mind that we have a conflict with involved three countries, Ethiopia, Sudan, and Egypt?
Yeah, definitely. As for any agreement or visit, there are some declared objective and some hidden objectives as well. Irrigation also very important for U.S. administration, and this is a part of the priorities of Israeli relations, and they mainly focus on agriculture, and they want to get advantage of water resources available in Sudan. The Egyptian also most concerned about irrigations, and the new dam in Ethiopia represent one of the challenges facing the Egyptian government. I think in this environment, the secretary or treasury secretary would like also, beside the agreement, He wants to hear from the Sudanese government about this very important and strategic file. For Israeli, there are some two strategic issues, the security and the water and irrigation. So any visit, you will hear something about these two main important issues. Besides the billions of dollars you receive, you expect such
Okay, that's
questions.
very
Yes.
good. That's very good. Okay, the last question. We have only 1 minute, as we know, I saw. We have a very important question about Dr. Asman. He touched this, which is very good for me. The visit, the package, the American package, did it involve the recognition and normalization of relations with Israel? And this is actually the completion of the package.
Yes. Actually, I think it is very important, as I said earlier, about the ideological, say, positioning of ourselves. That so why is Israel this sensitive to all, say, to everybody? Israel is a state, okay, and Israel is having good relations with many Arab countries. Israel is having neighborhood relationship, economic relationship, cultural relationship with the Palestinians themselves.
Yes.
Since, maybe the 80s, we haven't heard of any, armed conflict with Israel. Yeah. People are just talking. Even now in TV, you don't find any a lot of words or a lot of slogans against Israel. So I think the world is changing. So we should look at Israel from the point of view of win-win situation.
Interest of Sudan.
If it is now having relation with Israel, is opening to us what is open to us now. You can see how wide the gates are open to us now with the international community. If doing this is through the window of Israel, why should we stop?
Through the door.
Why not? why should we lead ourselves to problems?
Okay, that with this comment, this very pragmatic comment to both of them. Yes, why not? If the door is open, why not normalize the relation with Israel? Okay, thank you, dear gentlemen, Professor Makki Madani Shibli and Dr. Samani Hanoun, for being with us in this episode, which covered a lot of important events, important visits. So we hope to see the viewers next week in a different topic, hoping that things will go as you expected or as you wanted it to be. Thank you. Bye.